Welcome to this tutorial on saving and publishing a project in TAME. We'll pick up where we left off from the Create a Project video and use this example data set of brown trout on the Deerfield River. Now so far, TAME has not sent any of this data or related information to the server. If I were to close my browser, then this project would be lost, and I would need to go through all the previous steps again to recreate the project. But I can avoid that by saving this project to the server so that I can return to it later, as well as share it with other users. To do so, I start by clicking the Save button. Now in order to save a project, I must have an account. Note that an account is not required to create a project locally within the browser, as we just did. It's only needed to save the project to the server. If you're new to TAME, you can sign up for an account, or if you already have one, then you just need to log in. Once you're logged in, then we'll click Save again, and TAME will ask for some information about the project. First, we give the project a name, which usually includes the species and general area where the data were collected. For example, we could call this brown trout in the Deerfield River. But for this example, I'll simply call this tutorial project. Next, we enter our project ID, which is used for assigning the unique URL that will point to this project. The ID can only contain letters, numbers, and dashes, and it will be automatically generated based on the project name, but you can change it if you wish. An ID must be unique across all of the projects in TAME, so if an ID is already in use, TAME will ask you to choose another. And note that the ID cannot be changed later, unlike the other fields in this form. The next option specifies whether you want to publish this project. Publishing a project means that it will be shown in the list of available projects when someone clicks the Load Project button. We'll talk more about publishing in the last section of this video, so for now I'll leave this unchecked. Next, we provide a description for the project, which may include the targeted species, region, organization, or person who collected the data. Lastly, we can provide an optional citation or URL to the source dataset. But for now, I'll leave that blank. Now we click Submit, and TAME will save this project to the server. Once it is complete, it will display the project URL, which can be used to load this project directly. It is important to note that anyone with this URL will be able to access this project. That way I can send it to my collaborators who will be able to view the project without having to create an account. However, it also means that anyone with this URL will be able to access the project. And this can happen whether the project is published or not. The only difference with a published project is that it not only has a direct URL, but it will also be listed under the publicly available projects on the Load Project screen, as we'll see in a minute. Now that I've saved the project, I'll close this, and if I click the About button here, we'll see the information I just entered about the project, as well as its URL. Now if I close the project, then we're taken back to the Welcome screen, and from here I can return to that project by going to Load Projects, and at the top I see a list of my projects, the first of which is the tutorial project we just created. Below that, there is a list of published projects, which come from all TAME users. And since this project was not published, it only appears in the first list. In other words, it is only visible to me when I am logged in. And I can get back to it by clicking the Load Project button. Now, if I decide later that I would like to publish it, I can go back to Save and check the Publish Project option. Also note that I can change any of the other fields here, except for the ID. And I'll click Submit to save it again. And now if I go back to the Load Project screen, we see it is included in the list of published projects. Now let's say I no longer want my project saved on the server. I can click on Delete and then click Confirm. And now the project and its dataset have been deleted and no longer appear under my projects or the published projects. The only way to get back to this project would be to recreate it from the source dataset. And lastly, if your project contains highly sensitive data that you do not want anyone to access under any circumstances, then we recommend not saving the project to the server and only creating it locally. Again, until you save a project, no data or information is sent to the server. So it's safe to use TAME locally so long as you do not save it. And that wraps up saving and publishing. In the next video, we'll talk about editing a project.